listener production.
Hello, welcome to the Weekend Briefing with me, Antoinette Lattouf. It's your weekly escape from the relentless news cycle. And here we spotlight an exceptional human and get to know the stories behind their work. And yes, occasionally there's chaos. This week's guest is none other than Peter Rosethorn, a bona fide comedy legend whose career has included stand-up, sitcoms, musicals, and at one point, almost driving trucks for a living. He really has done it all. But to me, and probably to you, he'll always just be Brett, the delightfully daggy suburban dreamboat from Kath and Kim. In this delightful and occasionally insult-laden convo, Peter chats about returning to the Melbourne Comedy Festival after a few decades away from the stage, the joys of ageing with absolutely no grace whatsoever, and why the spotlight still feels like home. Then, as always, we wrap up with the weekend list. That is your curated cheat sheet for what to do, watch, eat, see and hear with producer Helen Smith and I. So stick around. There's plenty of gold coming your way. But first, here's Brett. I mean Peter Rosethorn. Peter, welcome to the Weekend Briefing.
Thank you, Antoinette. Lovely to be here.
I'm keen to know what you were like as a kid. I'm always fascinated by comedians, to know if they were funny when they were younger or whether it was something that they kind of grew into.
So I'm the youngest by 7 years, so clearly a mistake. So you've got that rolling around your head most of your life. Am I worthy? And then I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and fatherhood was a little bit different back then. So my dad was a bit of a rule by intimidation sort of a guy. So there was a lot of intention around our family at times. And I worked out as a young kid how to break tension via doing comedy or silly things. But it's knowing when to do them was the trick, because otherwise if you did them at the wrong time, you got one over the back of the head. So you were really having to be careful about your placement. So it was a funny skill to learn at a young age. So
you learnt comedic timing because of getting a slap if it was the wrong time.
Pretty much. But anyway, it must have worked. So,
And here you are. And so then you went to a pretty fancy schmancy school in Melbourne. And I'm keen to know, at that point, at the height of your career, or when you became a household name, you were playing the lovable, low-key, tragic bogan Brett. What were some of your peers doing that you graduated from school with? Because I'd imagine many took very, very different paths.
Yeah, it's interesting. Last night I happened to have a handful of them come in from my school years, my later years, year 10, year 11, year 12, and probably my early, just before my early 20s, where I sort of stepped into the comedy world and didn't see as much as I really used to. So it was really, they're all different. Some are graphic design, some are lawyers, some run art sort of facilities, some are full-time parents, some are, so it's all varied and wide. I loved my school. It was a fancy pants school, but my school at that stage, and I was a terrible student, I was awful at school, but my school, that Trinity Grammar at that point in time, late 70s, took all the kids who were expelled from all the other fancy schools. So we were kind of this rabble of, misfits in a private school. Then when I left, they got a new headmaster and it all changed into a normal sort of private school. So it became more very, result-driven. But he was a really good, fantastic headmaster, that guy, Mr. Leopard. But anyway, so the school had this rat bag kind of thing going for it. We weren't very good at sport. We're sort of, we had a sort of low-functioning kind of drama department. Not a lot of schools didn't have drama back then, but we had a little bit. But I just loved my memories. And I was one of those kids at school that we had lots of different, I could swing between different sorts of groups, the popular group, the nerdy group, the arty group, the sporty groups, so I was one of those guys.
So you went on to study teaching, you became a drama teacher, and then you got the role of Brett in Kath and Kim. Obviously you did various things in between drama teaching and Kath and Kim. But when you took on that role, when you accepted it, did you realise that you were stepping into something that would be forever ingrained in Australia's cultural history? Or was it a bit of this will be good for the show reel, this will be good for the next thing?
All of those, yeah. So very tricky.
All of them?
Yeah, so we all knew each other. So the key to that whole show working was we all had a past. So we all met sort of in the early 80s in the club scene and then sort of went our separate ways. It was, and then I did Rocky Horror Show with Gina and Jane in different sort of guises of it. And then Glenn and I had always had contact and been friends forever. And they sort of knew from working with me that I would be able to do character acting in a sort of pitch and a certain level that I would understand where to fit in amongst that cast. So I was sort of handpicked to do that role. And because the girls took so long to get it on, the ABC had it sort of on their shelf for 6 or 7 years before they made it, because the comedy department said it would never work. It was never going to be funny enough. And so the drama department made it because it was a narrative. And so then we made it, and we all sort of made it with as if we were doing a drama. It was done in that sort of tone, sort of on set. So we wouldn't. There was less laughter sort of around the first series as there were in the future series, where it's more sort of fun and more the pressure was sort of valve was off because it was popular and was sort of going. But yeah, so you can never guess when you're making it. Like I can read a line on paper like effluent, affluent, and go, okay, fantastic. But when it's done in character, with the people saying it in character, it works incredibly well, and it sort of all makes sense. But I could feel from the read-through there was enough jokes in it. And then once the characters come to life and play it for real, it had a magic to it, which then did its own thing. But you never know until it goes to air. And like that's always my biggest fear, because when you're performing live, you've got control of your situation. When you make telly, you make it, then you sit back at home, and I watch at the same time as everyone else at home. And I'm just terrified because I'm going, what if it's bad? I'm going to walk around the streets going, that was awful. I've done that before. It's not very pleasant. So, so it was a great thing to be involved in.
Well, it clearly wasn't awful. It's brilliant. And Brett Craig, your character, which we all know and love, and as you say, you were handpicked for it. What parts of him came naturally to you, and what parts made you have to, work a bit harder?
It's a matter of him not. I'm a nice guy, so that helps when your actual centre person is actually plays into the hands of the character a bit. Because I'm not a bogan, I'm not an aggressive guy, I'm not a violent person, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a niceness to me which I can lean in, which assists the character.
Yeah.
But it's also making him not too weak. He has to have a strength, an underlying strength, because Kim's coming at him a lot. But I always it's like some people get blinded by love. So it's like Kim could do no wrong with me. She could be as mean as she wanted, but I knew underneath that she loved me and I loved her. There was that kind of, as long as that basis was there. So it gave him a little bit more strength. So that was the hard thing to do. Otherwise, he's just a weak person who no one really cares about. And I always thought my character was like the audience, because I was the straightest of the characters. Most people, they're big characters, Kath and Kim, and they're big people. So, and Sharon. So, and Brett was sitting underneath it all. And really, I was just a responder. I was like, most of my laughs are on facial terms. I'm just reacting to something. Yeah, so that's where I felt I belonged in there. And the more we did it, the more I got to do, but also the more I was given the chance to kind of react to things,
Over the years and over the seasons, the show had a lot of big names, special guests, Michael Bublé, the late Shane Warne, Kylie Minogue, and a bunch of others. Was there anybody you met that, sometimes there's that expression, don't meet your idol, or, it's better to have an image of someone from afar. Was there anybody that you met that you went, maybe?
Most of the people were keen to be there, like happy to be there, but also quite intimidated because they're doing something that's not in their wheelhouse, so they're doing something like, say, Kylie, for example. I was quite nervous because Kylie's pretty popular. So I was going, she was coming out and I'm talking to Glenn. He knew her and I'm going, she nice, Anyway, she came out with like a security team before she arrived, to check out the area. Well, filming in a place called Patterson's Lakes, which is in the middle of the suburbs, like way out of town. The security came out and went, nothing going on out here. Bring her in, brought her in. And it just takes me a couple of days to kind of relax. It's more my issue than their issue. So, but some people like Shane Warne really, really diffuses that. They're really, really good at diffusing their fame and just making you feel comfortable around it. He was really good at it. I was really intimidated around Barry Humphries because he was my idol and I didn't know quite how to approach him because I saw him when I was about 14 and I just thought, that's what I want to do. I saw Les Patterson and I just thought that's the best thing ever. And some people were, like Bublé was kind of surrounded and was protected, but his role was him doing him. So he wasn't, and he's also, he has a lot of people in his grill. So I sort of step away in those situations. But most people were great.
So, Pete, you're just being really nice. You're not giving me any of it on anybody.
Okay. Some people took it seriously, like, William McGuinness. I thought he was a little bit unfriendly at first, but he was doing Sandy Freckle. That was a really good, really great one, probably the best sort of guest role that we had. And he was just a bit standoffish for a long bit, but I think he was just thinking about what he was doing and taking it so seriously, which is what you meant to do, I suppose, isn't it? And Jeffrey Rush, I always had a problem with. I have nothing to say to Jeffrey Rush, and he has nothing to say to me. So I don't know. It was one of those ones, I don't know. So,
Okay. I like that. You threw a little bit of shade. I appreciate that. So you've been really candid about the reality of royalties or lack thereof in Australia. So when people assume because of just how much of a hit Kath and Kim was, when they assume that you're loaded, do you just laugh or send them an invoice?
No, I don't. Where have I said that? Look, I've got so much work off the back of it that I never complain about it. And I still get royalties. I don't get a check sent that's $10,000, which is a lot of money, and it's because it's been sold to Canada and on something on Netflix, all over the world. It's like unsolicited money. You just go, oh wow, I didn't think that was coming. It's fantastic. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it happens, it's exciting.
Yes,
I do get a back end sort of deal, but the girls did everything. They wrote it, they produced it, they controlled it, they sell it. It's well done. I say, hats off to girls. Well done. And like I say, my spin-off work has been immense, especially through the corporate sector and stuff. So it's been great.
Part of that spin-off work has been reality television. You're in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here and The Amazing Race with your daughter. So which one tested your survival skills more? Doing something with your daughter or being in a jungle?
The jungle is way harder. Jungle is 6 weeks long and brutal. I think the ones that they do now are 4 weeks, and it was the last 2 weeks that were like, oh, wow, this is getting hard. And so, but I also loved the quietness of it. I was in the jungle and you had no phone and I could stare at the ground for 2 hours and be quite happy just in my own head or just fuzz, nothing in my head, nothing at all. So, it was pretty magical at times. And I detoxed, no salt, no sugar, nothing. So, I felt amazing when I got out. I was 12 kilos lighter and, paid the tax bill off and felt fantastic. Whereas the one in India was more sort of madcap and there was lots to do. But I said to Frank, and Frank's a great kid and we don't sort of bug each other much at all, but I said, let's make content and let's try and we're on the show to make content, to be mildly amusing and go about the thing and not to win it necessarily, but just make it a fun show. And so we did that. We did lots of content and then I buggered something up on the end of the first week and we got kicked off. And it was they were trying to get us through. They're going, come on, you can get this. But I messed it up and cleared mess up and they couldn't even cover it. So my bad. But they were quite different experiences. One pushed me and the other one was just was fun. It was just fun.
In addition to reality television and a very large and varied career, it's included recently being in Chicago, the musical.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I love
And was that your first musical?
No, I'd done Rocky Horror Show in the early 90s, through the 90s when we had little kids, and we used to tour with the kids, take them on the tour with us. And then school starts and messes everything up, so you get city rocked. So I gave up doing any sort of musical work after that. Then when COVID hit, I did a production of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert in Perth, but just local. It was because a whole lot of really good artists came back to Perth to be locked down in Perth because it was just easier over there. So we did it at the Crown Theatre, like a big theatre, 2,500 seat theatre, and it went nuts, sold out. And it was probably one of the best things I've done. I really enjoyed singing again and being in a big group of people. And I'd auditioned for 9 to 5, the musical, just prior to COVID, and I think I'd gotten the part, but then it shut it down. And the same company said, oh, look, we're doing Chicago. Do you want to audition for Amos and Mr. Cellophane? And I said, sure. And I was a bit of a shoo-in, and then away we went. So I was away for a year, and I loved it. I loved doing the part. I loved the cast. I love the vibe. Young people everywhere, dancers, and everyone's show busy. It's so much easier than doing stand-up because stand-up is extremely concentrated, and it's all about you, which is great, but it's also hard. Yeah. But musicals are just fun. Once you get on top of it, which takes a couple of weeks, you're an automatic pilot, but, when you're on stage, you're not. You're in concentrated mode, but it's so much fun, so much fun.
I do love watching musicals and I go along to as many as I can. But one of the things I can't help but wonder, because obviously you rehearse so much and then you perform night after night after night, and sometimes for a month, sometimes for a year, sometimes years. Does it get boring? Does it ever get boring doing the same thing? I'm not an artist, so just at the other end, I've just wondered, like the Hamilton ensemble, for example, I think they did the show for 3 years.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. And I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, I was like, that's a lot, right?
Yeah, especially if you're in the chorus and you just doing the same sort of track every night. You're not really. So you've got a bit of dialogue and there's some emotional input. You've got to make the journey for the show work a little by your contribution. That's a bit better, and it takes a little bit of concentration. But I watched a lot of football backstage because I could go from my iPad and go, the cue's coming up, go and stand at the back of the stage for like 45 seconds. I go the lines in my head, I breathe, and I normally have some sort of character physicality that I do for a second, and that locks me in. I can walk back on and be in the moment again. So but I never got booked. I'm doing what I love, and at the end of it, you come out and 2,000 people go, bravo, bravo.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen to you at the end of your day.
True.
So it makes you feel pretty good. Thank you very much. It's pretty nuts.
If I recall correctly, I do remember reading somewhere that during COVID, and this obviously impacted a lot of artists. You mentioned that you moved to Perth, but were you doing odd jobs, including truck driving?
Yeah, I got my license.
Or is that something?
No, that's not. That's totally true. So because we didn't know how long it was lasting, it just scared the begingies out of me. I thought, what the hell are we going to do? So,
the begingies, that's a new one.
Oh, well, it's one of mine. And I just went,
okay.
I don't know what to do. I've got a teacher's degree, but I had never taught, so I'll probably have to re-register to go in and do that. And I thought, no, teaching is hard, and it's not like you can't really go in there half-cocked because you get murdered by year 9 people. So they never clap you. They're never nice to you. So I thought, truck driving. So I went off and so I had lots of truck driving.
Who's clapping you at truck driving?
I had to go and get my license.
You at truck driving?
I had to go and get my license first. So I got that, my heavy to medium vehicle long trailer license, and that was great fun. I did that in a week, and I was getting measured up to doing health checks for going to work for a particular company over in WA to drive those big mining trucks around in circles, which are mainly automatic anyway and super easy to drive. And then I got a job for Gumtree. I did an ad for Gumtree. Then I got one of those checks from, one of those random checks from Kath and Kim came in. And then, then I got another mining company said, look, all our miners are stuck in dongas. We want to create a little television show for them, like an interview program. So I got all my people who are all unemployed at the time to do an interview with me on Zoom, which you get pumped straight into their dongas. They could register and ask questions, and that same link could be sent to their families so they can watch their own sort of private TV show. I did that for 2 separate companies. And then because it was in Perth, we'd popped out by July. We're out again and just open to each other. So I started picking up.
Hold a second. Did you drive any trucks?
No, not one. No. But there was a huge.
That is hilarious.
It became a big news story.
Truck driving career. Yeah.
That's it. Nearly drove a truck. Could barely drive a truck, but could have driven a truck.
You got your truck license. You got measured up, and that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Gave it a crack.
So you're returning to the comedy festival circuit for the first time since the 80s.
Mm.
So is this a triumphant comeback, or I think I've heard you once mentioned you do it once on the way up and once on the way down. Is this your descent, Pete?
Yeah. Stop saying that because it could be real. I did. Look, it's gone well. It went well in Perth. We sold out a week in Perth and a week in Adelaide.
Yeah.
I'm in Melbourne at the moment. It's just about selling out every night, and I really like it because I'm sort of freed up a little bit. Like I do a lot of chat. I do probably 20 minutes of just chatting to my audience first. Just, just great things come out of that. And it's not done in a very negative tone. It's all pretty warm, and it's a little bit of undercut of not meanness, but, there's an edge to it sometimes, which is fun. And then I go into my material, and then they'll have a mandatory Kath and Kim quiz that I'm sort of doing along the way. And that's all super easy. And most questions are backed up by some ridiculous story or something happened within the shooting of the show. And my stand-up's really strong because I've done it in the corporate sector for so long. I sort of know how to do it.
Right.
But this gives me a chance to relax and just slow everything down a bit and be a little more theatrical in my cell in terms of presenting characters and presenting people within my stories. And I've really enjoyed that because in the other sector, corporate sector and even clubs, you just got to go more of a clip. You got to go a little bit quicker. But by the end, people love it and they're clapping and I'm going, thank you very much again. Thank you very much.
You've said nothing scares you anymore, that you're in your 60s now. So I'm keen to know what scared you prior. Was it text time, Twitter, someone calling you Brett?
No. It's just been on a run. So I've been going for 40 years doing what I love. So I feel like I'm in no place to complain about anything. And I've always been reasonably good at what I did. Not at a level where I've thought I'm a world famous or world-standard stand-up comedian or a world-standard actor or a world-standard, but I've done it at a level where I'm extremely capable. And what scared me, any of those sort of moments where everyone has vulnerability. And so when you're performing live in a corporate thing and you feel like there could be, I don't know, especially when you're younger, in your 30s, you're worried about making an impression on people who you perceive as rich or important and on stage, I'm talking about, I'm quite a good social person, but I mean on stage in terms of not offending, not rocking the boat too much, but rocking enough where you feel like you're making an impression somehow. And so just intimidation, and confidence is more stable than it used to be. It used to fluctuate a lot more, and to the point where sometimes you feel like you're going to be sick before you work. And then sometimes you are too casual and then you're too flippant, and then suddenly you're in a bad place and no one's reacting at all, and it's a nightmare. And it's finding a pitch where you know where your pitch is, and I'm quite confident with that now. And, really there's much harder jobs in the world, and I still love what I do. So it's, I just don't mind anymore. I'm not scared of hecklers. I'm not scared of, that stuff. So the Sydney comedy scene back in the 80s was really volatile. You used to go and they'd stick a microphone in the corner of a pub and just let you loose, and they'll let the audience loose on you kind of more. Whereas Melbourne was a more gentle kind of character-based scene. So I always found that those are really aggressive audiences quite hard, but now I just go, bring them on. Come on.
And you want to age disgracefully. How's that going for you?
There's a litany of things. My belly button was once...
It involves Voltaren and what else?
Oh, mate, varicose veins, so a stocking full of walnuts. Oh, so ugly. My kids just go, I say, touch them, go and touch them. No, get them away from me. Go and touch them. Just everything, when you lie on your side, young people, when you're lying down, everything stays inside your skin. When I lie on my side, everything just spills onto the mattress. It's like roadkill. It's the hideous thing you've ever seen in your whole life. It's terrible. And just aches and pains and things.
And I do apologise. I apologise for insulting you and getting off on the wrong foot and calling you an old dog.
It's okay, you old bat.
Okay, we're even.
Yeah, not even close to being old, that sweet. God dang, I've got miles to go.
On a more serious note, you've recently lost your mother, so our condolences. What's it like juggling grief and processing loss while you're touring to make people laugh?
So it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. It's okay. It was only a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think it was. So in between, I think I was in Adelaide, came back, and she was getting crook, and then I sort of flew and saw her, and I was with her. We were all with her when she passed away. She was 96, so she was, it was on the cards. So, we're all around her when she passed away and stuff. It was really nice. It was a lovely way for her to slip off the earth. And there's a lot of places. I've been driving around Melbourne a lot, going to do outer suburban gigs and stuff. But I just pass, every time we pass something, I took her, last year when I was doing Chicago in town, I took her out every day. We went out, we drove to the country, went to all our old houses that we'd lived in. So I just felt like this would be my last chance to spend a lot of time with Mum one-on-one. Because I was the youngest, I had a lot of time with her one-on-one when I was young. So I thought maybe just try and bookend this thing. So it was really great. And we had some really good time. And she had a mind. She was no Alzheimer's. There was no dementia. Just her body was giving up. And it was a really beautiful time. And even through that time, there's things that we did within those months that I'd driven past recently and just get a sort of pang of loss. And I often think to call her every second day. I'll go, I've got to call Mum. Oh, right, she's gone. I've got to call. Oh, shit. And that probably happens more to me now than it happened when she was alive, But it's funny dealing with it. And on stage I go, if it's in my head, I go, well, this show is for Mum. I'll do this for Mum. I'll do this one for Mum. Because she loved watching me. She loved coming to see me, especially musicals. She was just loved it. But and the stand-up thing, she used to come to late shows at the Joke and be there till 2:30 in the morning when I thought she was old, but she was probably only 45, And you just have such a strange perception as a kid. But I was out and about, 2 o'clock in the morning, whoa, But it's been really tricky at times, but it's okay. It actually helps you. The concentration of the job can flick your mood. You can be in quite a flat mood and sometimes somebody come from home and your family's upset you and you go to work and then you're in this state and then the work is so concentrated, you've actually worked your way out of it. By the time you get off stage, you go, okay, I can now approach that problem at home a little bit clearer and because my mind's had a reset.
And keeping with your family, you must be proud that your daughter's followed in your footsteps as a comedian.
Yeah, it's really weird. So she had a little go. All my kids came on tour with me to country places when they were little. I took them down. I'd book a couple of random pubs in the countryside, and they would have to help me load my speakers inside and be my door people. And because they're going to the country people chat to them all the time, and it forces them to be social and be able to talk to people. So it was a bit of a social exercise for them as well. And so Frankie had to go when she was about 14, and it just terrified her. She just fell to pieces, and I just gave her a little bit to do, and she just went, ugh. Then a couple of years later, out of the blue, she said, Dad, I want to have another go. I said, well, there's no school for it, so the only way we can do it is you go to the local pub, and it's a tryout night down there, so get on. So I was thinking this is going to be a train wreck. This will be a disaster. But I said, I can't stop it, so let's go and watch it, and then back her up if she bombs. And so she gets up, and she does like 4 minutes of just really beautiful, settled, done. You know how when she's only 16 at this point, so you know how a 16-year-old can go on stage and be a little bit show busy? No, I did show business. Man, they're a bit overconfident for their skin, and you go, ooh, I hate you. But she was none of that. She was just bared her soul. One of some of the trick to stand up is bearing your soul a little bit and chipping a bit of a soul away every time you get on.
And she hadn't shown you the material before? You saw it first when she was... Oh, nothing. Wow, that's brave.
Yeah, super brave. And she was great. I was so flustered. It was like suddenly I saw a kid, one of my kids was suddenly really good at football or something like that, and going, oh, wow, they can play. It's incredible. Yeah. So I forgot my man bag. I left it there. Let's go home. So it was amazing to watch. And ever since then, she's been working on it really hard, and she's doing a great job. She's on Triple J on the weekends with Weekends Lunch with Frankie, and she's just living the dream. I said she's about to move to Sydney and keep on going. So I said, good luck. Everything's right for you, mate. You get this fantastic bass job, and you're doing comedy at night, and good luck to your kid. Well done. So, yeah, it's been really great.
Good job, Dad. And honestly, it's so wonderful. You've got the most beautiful energy, a contagious laugh, and I love to see you continuing to kick goals.
Antoinette, thank you very much, you old bat.
Thank you. Okay, we're even. And if you're keen to check out Peter's show, aptly named Keen, head out to comedy.com.au and the website will give you details on where to catch him near you. It's time for the weekend list, where Helen Smith and I have done all of the hard work for you. We've scoured the internet, we've trawled the streaming services, we've sampled all of the food, all of the fads, and it is curated for your pleasure. Helen Smith, no pressure, but what have you got?
My first recommendation is a movie that I actually saw in a cinema. So it's only just come out, and it's called Drop. Now, it's a thriller, which I don't usually do thrillers or anything scary. And look, I was a bit stressed throughout the whole thing, but it wasn't as scary as it seems. This is what it's about. It follows a widowed mother who's quite young, and she's got a young child, and she's going on a first date for the first time in like forever. And she's literally just starting the date, and she gets an anonymous drop, or, like an airdrop when someone sends you a meme or somebody, and it's like, what is this? So that pretty much starts straight away in the movie, and this happens throughout the whole movie, and it progressively gets more threatening, tells her what to do. All of this kind of stuff happens on her phone to do with her son, which is not a giveaway. And you're kind of left on edge the whole time. You're figuring out who is trying to do these drops, who's giving her them. And it's pretty wild. But the first date that she's on, so the main character is played by Megan Faye from
White Lotus.
Yes, your favourite. And she is really good throughout it. And her date, who is so gorgeous, and I feel so bad for the whole movie, is played by Brandon Slenner. And he is so gorgeous and lovable. You can't help but fall in love. He's my new crush, I think.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun. It's a bit quirky, weird, but I liked it.
Okay, so you went to the cinemas to see The Drop. It's not your usual thing, thriller, but you really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, I watched a movie, and I'm kind of recommending it. I think it's worth watching, but I also have quite a bit to critique, which makes me sound like, when you're a film critic, even if you like something, you feel that you're highbrow and you have to critique it and read into it a lot. So brace yourself. That's what I'm going to do. So I decided to watch The Substance after Demi Moore won Best Actress.
Yes.
To be fair, I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that she had won it, and it had been a long time coming because, she's been an actress for decades. I didn't realise that it was a horror.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
God, no. It looks too scary. I'm not watching it.
So scary.
Yeah, that's why I'm not watching it. I know it's
so
a horror.
scary, and it's like blood and gory, and it's quite confronting.
Body horror
It is.
too.
It is body horror, right? While I liked the notion because she is a hotshot exercise TV personality, and she has been for many years.
Yeah.
And then she turns 50, and a really awful male TV exec, which I think is emblematic of a lot that are out there, is like, nah, she's too old, get rid of her, and replaces her and wants someone much more young and beautiful. So she goes to these extreme measures to become more young and beautiful so that she can play this role. That's the sort of the overall story. Her performance is good. It's really quite solid. It's confronting. It is shot magnificently. And so I stayed with it despite having to cover my eyes for the blood and gore. Here's the but.
Okay.
What I struggled with is she's being applauded for her acting in playing this role in which it calls out the ageism in Hollywood and in television. And she has had so much work done. She is closer to 60 and she's had everything, including to her kneecaps, reshaped or whatever. And some will say, well, Antoinette, that's quite anti-feminist of you because she can do what she likes with her body and whatever. I just couldn't help but point out the irony that she is awarded for a role, and yes, where she acts well, but a role in which she subscribes to and has herself tried to do all of the things. Like the message at the end of all the blood and guts is, look how awful it is, look what people do to stay young. And then I'm like, well, she's accepted her award looking like a 30-something-year-old or aspiring to look and dress like a 30-something-year-old. And I don't know if you're going to hate me listening to this, but like I'm keen to hear your thoughts, but I just felt really conflicted watching that.
No, I totally get what you're saying. And I saw those conversations pop up around when the film kind of came out. I agree, but then I'm also like, but she's just played the game. And I think that almost adds more complex layers to it, that she has literally been in this industry for so long. She is older. I think
don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, don't hate the player, hate the game. And like she probably felt like I don't know her, but she might have felt that she had to do this to get roles, to stay relevant, which the whole film is around that. So, yeah, I do get what you're saying because I was thinking, wow, I did not realize she was that old because she looks insanely amazing. Like, oh my God, she looks incredible.
Yeah.
But, I think almost that adds even more complexity and more to the conversation that look what we have to do.
Yeah. I think you raise a good point. Anyway, that's just kind of like how my mind was processing it all. What else do you have?
So my next recommendation, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm just obsessed again. Any easy salad dressing, I believe, can be made with natural yogurt. Okay. Natural yogurt, I'm obsessed. It's good for you protein-wise, like
it is.
tummy-wise, probiotics, all that kind of thing.
But what do you put with it?
I'm putting at the moment pesto. You can do green pesto or red pesto, and you literally just put that, mush it all up. Or tahini and honey, like that tahini spread, put it all in it, mush it all up. Again, pop it on anything. And you can also do kind of a spicy version or just herbs and spices. So add your favorite spice or whatever you want. And it's just so simple.
Yogurt for everything.
Yeah, and you know exactly what's going in that dressing, which I think is sometimes when, for me, I have IBS, when my tummy can get triggered by dressings or things you add on top because you're like, actually don't know what's in that. But it's an easy one. Easy little salad dressing, or you can put on anything like potatoes, chicken, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, what I am loving is, I don't know what they're technically called, but those little home libraries. You know how people have like a little library box at the front of their house? And you can go and
put the book.
Yes, I just love it. Okay, I am doing something a little bit sneaky because I have a lot of books and I get sent a lot of books from publishers. I will take one and put in 3. I don't know if you're technically meant to be doing that because I feel so bad that I have so many books I don't know what to do with them.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But like I feel like I'm also using them as a little bit of a recycling tub.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I have the same.
I'm like, I will take one and I just enjoy, my kids think it's weird. They'll go, what are you doing, Mum? That's so weird. I'm like, no, it's beautiful.
No,
it's really lovely.
It's
These are
nice.
pre-loved
People
books.
love that. People are making them for a reason.
Yeah. And so I have just been, anytime I see one, going home, getting 3 books, popping them in and finding something. And, the books aren't always amazing, but sometimes they're surprising.
You might find a gem.
And I just think it's a nice way to be environmentally friendly. And sometimes you have a chat with the person, they'll come out or you see them, a way to just like interact with people.
Yeah, like real people.
Like real people. I know, eye contact, actual conversation. So if you see one of those little, whatever you're called, library things at the front of someone's house, give it a try. It's really cute.
I like that. I will do that.
Thanks so much, Helen. And that is it for this week. Thank you so much for being with us and tuning in. Always a pleasure. But if you want more of the Weekend Briefing, find us on the Listener app. If you don't already have that, head to your app store, download the Listener app and follow us there, or follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. And why not give us a rating and a review for this fabulous interview with Brett, aka Peter, but always Brett to me. And you can rate and review every episode. We'll be back Monday morning, where the team will have the latest headlines straight to your headphones, along with fascinating interviews. Stay safe, everyone. Catch you next week.